With the passage of time, names are often lost. You may know Simple, but not the names of his first teammates or his first team. In Surf, a movement game that's history spans almost 2 decades, many players have simply been forgotten. But not for these two. Morning and Habitat are two of Surf's biggest legends, both achieving rank 1 and many world records in their careers, whose deepest insight lies far in the past, at the very origin of Surf. The following video is the first of a 2-part interview with them. Enjoy. When was the last time you
All
think
right.
you guys spoke to each other? How long was it?
God, let's see here.
Over voice, that's probably that's a long
Yeah,
time ago.
over voice definitely years, but I think in Steam chat like a couple months ago.
Yeah. I think the last time we had like a actual talk was I don't remember when it was, but I joined KSF just randomly and it was on Surf 666.
Right, yep,
Do you remember that?
yep.
No idea when that was. Maybe
When was that
I would
released?
say I would say that was about a year ago.
yeah, I think it's more, but yeah, maybe something like that.
Yeah.
Now, do you keep in contact with a lot of people from KSF? Do you have a lot of friends from KSF from the past, or have you mostly moved on from the community?
I have a couple people that I've stayed in touch with for the last 10 years.
Wow. Oh my god.
Yeah. I mean, I guess, yeah. I mean, there are people that I talk to on a somewhat daily basis. Uh, I wouldn't say like close friends or anything, but yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it depends what you mean by on a date or like what you mean by keep in touch with. Like there's some people that um I talk to every day in our Discord, but I don't know if I would really classify them from KSF. They're from um a surfing server before KSF. So
Ooh, okay, can you tell me about that server?
yeah, it's I don't even know if it's a skill serve. It wouldn't even be skill surf. It would I think it was a combat server. Most of the skill surfs maps back then had jails, so and they had a lot of secret stuff in them so that if you beat you could go to like for example, Surf Torque had a room on stage 3 or stage no, on stage 1 actually, where you could go up into the ceiling at the end of stage 1 and it would take you to the bonus. And then you do the bonus really quick and then you'd get an M249 and everybody would go to
Oh.
jail and you would just sit there and mow them down. That's what surfing servers were back then. Um, so the server where I started surfing on would be PTC, which was Poontang Clan. It was actually
All
just
right.
yeah, it was actually just it was a server where I spent playing actual Counter-Strike, like surfing on maps like or not like like gun game servers, actual Counter-Strike, and then the servers would always be full, and I would just join the surf servers at that time, and that's where I met two people. One person by the name of Sky. He created the bonus 1 on Bayer 2, and he also created the bonus 4 on Sensane 2.
Oh,
Uh,
wow.
the
Okay.
bonus 2 on Sensane 2 would have been a map that he didn't intend to be released. He kind of went MIA there in the middle of, I would say, like 2016, and I believe I got Truffle and Beetle to try to beat the map, and I think it I think it was Beetle that beat it first, and it took him quite a long time in save lock, and I guess from there, somebody must have gave it to Not a Zombie, because it seems like he's the one that kind of remade it.
Yep, checks
Uh,
out.
it- yeah, it never looked anything like what Sky made it. Like when he made it, it was just plain. It was plain texture, it was plain everything, and I guess Not a Zombie kind of um, retextured it. I don't know if he changed anything in the surf at all, but Yeah, so he would have, yeah, so that's the first guy. Second guy would have been by a guy by the name of Guff. And I still talk to those two guys. I mean, I talked to both of them yesterday, so
That's incredible.
been over a decade.
Wow. Now,
Yeah, Sky was actually like an important figure in my surfing past as well.
oh shit.
He was the guy who the first time I ever surfed on a timer server on EGI, it was because Sky showed me it.
Okay.
But
I
yeah,
don't. Yeah, I also don't know 100%. I'm very confident though, but I'm pretty sure he's the first person to use turn binds and then introduce them to other people in Counter-Strike Source.
Wow. Wow. Okay.
really, you think so?
I
I
I'm
I was using them before I knew him, but just the default um like no one was changing the yaw speed back then.
yeah, because I know he would I remember vaguely he remembered or he mentioned this kind of stuff on the amplitude maps because they at the time the only time there was actual spins were on the amplitude maps and NY advance. Um, there was no other map where you would actually use, like plus left or something
Right.
for a spin.
Mm.
That was like a defining feature for skill surf is those I don't even know what you'd call them, but like
Like the
the
planks
left
that.
turns.
Yeah. 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 Where
Yeah,
it's
like the
yeah.
like the half triangles that like are
Yeah.
offset at each time, right?
Wow. Okay.
Right.
And so there's probably a first spin at some point. I want to interject real quick. And it just turn binds are this thing in surf where you press one key. It allows you to turn in one direction without ever having to touch your mouse, and that revolutionizes a lot of tech surf. That's where you do a lot of spinny shit because without turn binds, a lot of it would be impossible. But then in like, I don't know, maybe it would have been 2012, 2013, CL yaw speed starts to become a thing where you can turn down your turn bind really slowly so that you're instantly smooth. You hit that turn bind and you're moving like you're fucking Melander. And the integration of that using the turn binds and your mouse changed surf forever. And I guess that you're saying it really had a big influence on Skillsurf as well. Morning, I know you wanted to say something. Sorry if I've sort of
Uh,
brought us off track of that.
yeah, I'm not sure what Habitat means when he says Sky was the one that introduced
Uh-oh.
Turnbinds because
Okay.
I'm pretty sure that well I remember I know that I used them before I even knew who Sky was, and I know that other people did as well. But obviously, as I said before, it's back then, right? It was just having a turnbind. No one was changing the yaw speed, so it's just 210 yaw speed. But maybe yeah, I don't know.
The only reason
Oh.
the only reason I say it, and I'm not gonna sit here and say that he's the first person to like ever use plus left. Never. I'm not saying that. I'm saying
Right.
what I'm kind of saying is, um, he I would popularize it. Like
Yeah.
maybe there were some people that did know about it, but he was kind of the first person to like tell everybody that hey, this is how I'm doing this. This is how I'm doing this spin.
Right. Yeah. Sky was he was ahead of his time, definitely. In those years, like 2009. He was also the like pretty much the only. Well, the first. He was like the first skill surfer to ever be a smooth surfer.
Ooh, okay. And this is tough. What is that line for smooth surfer and not smooth surfer? Was he the first one where it looked like he was just smoother than everybody else?
Well, yeah, that it is kind of hard, right? Because how do you define
Right.
when does it cross over into being smooth? I think he was the first low sensitivity, the
Okay.
first surfer to kind of utilize a really low sensitivity to kind of make himself smoother. Um, I was saying for years that he was the first smooth surfer, but I actually found out maybe a year or two ago that we actually have a documented proof that there was a guy who was smooth before Sky. And I also confirmed with the guy himself that he actually was he used low sensitivity, and that's a trick surfer called bug roll.
Oh, of course. Yeah. And can you tell me what impact Bog Roll had on Surf? This is a huge topic, but how important is he to skill surf and trick surf overall?
Maybe in the sense that there were a few skill surfers that were also trick surfers that would have been influenced by him, myself included. But in terms of trick surf, he's very, very influential. I mean, he back in the 2008, 2009 days, I mean, he was like ridiculously ahead of his time in terms of surf Skyworld. By far the best Skyworld surfer at that time. And yeah, he just had a style that was like maybe like 3 years ahead of its time
And
in terms of being really robotic, really smooth, really controlled. When other people at that time, I mean, skill surfers at that time, they were considered the best. There are, I think, videos that you can find of people in those years doing skill surf, and I mean, I mean, it's kind of almost comical. I think.
Yeah.
I think like really young surfers that haven't been around that many years, if they look at it, they'd like be flabbergasted. They'd be surprised that that would count as good surf. But it was just, I mean, the times were so different, right? Yeah.
Yeah, like if you watch some of those videos by like Migo13, Stuntman Mike, like their no fails of all those maps like Torque, Lithium,
Yeah.
it's brutal. Like it wouldn't even be like their no fails, but it wouldn't even be like a top like on Torque, for example, if however many people have no failed it now up to date, it would probably be in like the bottom 10% of no fails in terms of overall time. Like it's hilariously bad.
Yeah, and
fucking idea.
it's funny because the reason is because back in those days, no one kind of was trying to be fast.
Hmm.
Uh, in the sense that, well, they were trying to be fast in the sense that they were trying to no fail. That was kind of if you were really, really, really good back in those years, it was because you could no fail maps.
Hmm.
And I mean, you were also considered really good if you could just complete maps. But there was not a
Wow.
focus on like being fast at it at all.
There was also the aspect of all those maps had if you beat it or you're the first one to like hit the secret button or whatever, you get the M249 and everybody else gets a knife and you just sit there and kill people. And that's what surfing servers were back then. There was no timer, there was no nothing. It was the goal of somebody good was basically to piss everybody off by beating the map as fast as possible
Right.
and getting your kill score up. Especially with Torque. Once Torque came on, like you would just
Ah,
go
I see.
straight to the bonus on stage 1 and beat the pussy stage, and then you'd get the M249.
And it's that process is gone, and oh, you have no fucking idea how hard it is. It's so surf. The ceiling is so fucking high. I surf. I'll stream something for like hours, and this 16-year-old from Hong Kong will just hop on and destroy it, and then top 10 it and be like, "You're shit." Billy, insane player. There's Nate, a sophomore. He's like, I think now 6 or 7 years younger than me, now doing corruption half sideways, and even that doesn't like break the news. It should. The amount that surf has come from just the level of skill is insane. I don't even know if I'm better than right now than you guys were, but I don't know if I could have been taking your records back then. The skill ceiling is just people are getting so good so quickly. I will
Maybe habitats.
maybe
Yeah, I've I can't even come anything close to my old times now.
fuck, really?
Yeah, I'm done for.
I mean, our game is not like that. Like if you play football when you're younger, you kind of always can just do a pickup game. Say with basketball, right? Until you get too old, and then it's cooked. But surfing, I don't know. I hope it'll someday be like that. That we'll have played it in our younger years, and then 10 years from now, there's going to be like a tournament, and then you can hop on, like you would if you're just going to go to the bar and watch football or something like that. But you have no idea what it's going to look
Yeah.
like.
The last time I came back, this would have been 2017-ish. I came back after a extended break, maybe since like I think I took a break from something like 2014 to like late 2016.
Right.
And yeah, I did surpass, I think, the skill level that I had been at in the earlier years, but it took quite a while. And I mean, I don't think that I could physically. I think I am too old to like physically ever even get close to the skill level of the top surfers now.
Oh man.
Like
Yeah.
the people who are at the top right now are, yeah, as you were saying, like ridiculously good.
Oh, Levi. We didn't even talk like. Oh yeah, we'll get into Levi at some point.
Yeah.
Like Roldar, when I was playing in 2017, Roldar was the guy that was going for like like top tens in groups. And then I come back to find out, he's ranked 2.
Yeah. I mean, Have and I, we're so old that we probably had that experience with so many. Like, I remember, yeah, I mean, just like Sinky and Beetle and, these kinds of people just being randos, just random guys in the server, right? And then you take a break and you come back and they're the best in the world.
Yeah, like
Sinking.
I think we came back at different times too. I think I was surfing around. Well, so when Beetle came around, um, I noticed him, and I instantly knew right away that like this guy is going to be good. And he turned out to be, I think in the sense that he kind of changed surf um, from one era to the other in terms of unit surfing.
Wow. Okay.
There's,
Yeah.
Oh man,
I
Beetle,
there's
think
so much to
adapt.
unpack.
I think surfing changed, and Beetle is a huge part of going from one era, which was um, just no failing something constantly, um, and smashing your head at a map until you beat a world record. And then he went to actually studying each ramp ahead of time and maximizing the amount of units you get on each single one. And yeah, I think
I would
it's
agree. I mean, I think
just
Beetle was
evolved from
really,
there.
really an important guy. So he invented the thing that Trufflecopter would have called protracting, I think.
Like a protracting anus. What is that?
You never watched the Truffle streams? Are you too young for that?
Well, I'm 23. So I like watched it at some point, but I could barely fucking understand English. It's a
Yeah. Well, Truffle, he just used to have this thing that whenever something was like really optimized, he would call it protracted.
Yeah.
Like you'd use a protractor on the ramp and figure out the perfect angle or whatever.
oh, it's a prolapsed anus and a protractor like from okay. All right, now we're on the same page. There's a huge box that you opened right there, which is Beetle and his contribution to surf, and a process that changed surf forever. So when we think of Beetle, I think we think of like modern B4 and some of the B4s and that is the constrained impact that he had. That's like the concrete impact that he had. But you're saying that there's an impact he had on the meta of surf of how you actually play the game, not like the ramps themselves, but what is the game on top of the game? What should you save lock? How long should you save lock for? What are you looking for? Literally looking at your units is something that sounds like he was the one that really pioneered. Is that accurate?
Yeah.
Yeah, but also, I mean, that's also just the fact that you didn't used to have the ability to put your units on the screen back in the day, so people just didn't think of it. But once units became a thing that you could use, he was definitely the person who kind of was at the forefront of like using units to optimize. And also, I mean, he was like the best. Like he was the Levi of like. I mean, I wasn't active at the time, so I couldn't say exactly. So maybe this isn't entirely accurate in terms of like the years, but I would say that he was like the Levi of like 2015, 2016
Whoa.
Yeah,
Right? He was like the best
but
in at least in terms of like optimization.
right, but he was definitely that, but he never went for, you know, world records like Calf and Levi do now. I know he was like top 10. I don't think he was ever
Right. I might be
in like
misunderstanding Levi because I'm like out of touch with modern surf. I mean, I thought Levi
so
was like the ultimate like optimized guy.
so
Am I wrong in that?
we can go even further here and with you just said that you're not really familiar with him. That's another era that wasn't happened back then, which was private servers.
Oh
So there
my
was no
gosh, I
private servers
All
know.
right,
back
yeah,
then.
yeah.
Yeah.
So we all have the familiarity of what Beetle was back then. I right now I've watched Levi surf twice. And the one time I watched him surf, it was a slideshow on NY Advance because he was lagging, right? Like so I
Wow.
don't have I don't so all I see is, the videos on KSF Records, which they are not a good representation of. I mean, sure, like yeah, that person's good, but it's not a good representation of how good they actually are. Like, do they spend 20 hours doing it, or do they spend 15 minutes doing it, right? Because I think consistency is the most important thing in terms of surf.
Hmm.
Well, it's I mean, I would say that consistency is the most important thing when it comes to do you want to be rank 1 on KSF?
Yeah,
Yeah, definitely. Um,
So,
yeah, Beetle was
yeah.
never that.
Hmm.
He was pure optimization.
Yeah. The current conception about Levi, the reason why he's the best of all time is that he only has 3,000 hours. That is that is the agreed upon number of the amount of time that he's put in. So if you compare that to Calf, Sinky, even Marble and Username, it appears to be less. And has the potential to take every single world record on the server. There's very few records that he can't take. And it's unclear why that's the case. It appears that every game that he goes into, he's just absolutely cracked. So he's a god with a mouse and keyboard, and he has a life. And he has friends. He goes out in parties. He doesn't want to. I'm not sure about that one, but he has a life. And it's unexplained as to the reason why he was so much better than everybody else. He used to talk a lot. He used to talk a lot on the Discord. He doesn't talk so much anymore, and he doesn't surf that often. And when he does, he comes back and he beats whatever world record he wants in an extremely short amount of time, and we don't know why. And that's a mystery. Sorry, that's my knowledge. it, I
So
think.
he's like 2011, 2012 sensor.
Oh, okay. So we're gonna get. We're sort of in this section. If you look at the doc, we're like sort of in the second section right now. We could talk about important players. I have an interesting question. Maybe this is going to be good. Can you both agree on the best 3 players from your period other than yourselves? So if it was Habitat and Morning and then 3 other players as the top 5 from your era of surf.
which era are we talking
Yeah, that
about?
really
Ooh.
depends because I mean I started surfing in 2005 and I've been
Whoa.
active on and off until like 2018, 17, 18. So yeah, that you'd have to
Right.
specify the era.
Yeah.
2008 to 2012 is the era I'm thinking, because maybe this
Two,
is wrong. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
well, again, that's that there was a lot of
I
there was
think
a lot of
yeah.
shifts in that
Shit.
in that time
That's
span there.
that's definitely too big of an era. As
Yeah,
weird as it is to say. Like we're talking you're talking like go look at some videos of like Migo 13 surfing in like 2008 and then go watch, what it was my rank 1 surf history video in 2012 from Joseph. Like just look at the difference between those two and you'll see that like we're looking at like only 4 years, but the the era is not even contested.
yeah. I mean, there's 2008 and 2012. Those are two completely different universes in terms of what people were doing, how good people were.
So then let's try to
I
pick
mean,
like a critical period from that. I would say 2010, because that's when I look at Demon on Syria again, Sinsa on Tronic, and then 2012 and 2011 it's the Royal stuff. Your Gamer is 2011 as well, I believe. And Morning, you alerted to me to the fact that that's one of the greatest world records of all time. I had no idea.
Which one?
In
Uh,
White Vans.
during
Yeah,
yes,
Gamer.
exactly.
Okay, yeah. So a thing with that world record, there was no auto bhop,
Yeah.
and I think what made his run so good back then was he hit every single bhop back then on like
I see.
stage 6 on NY Advance at that time felt complete random. Like you either completely miss it, you barely make it, or you fly like way overshoot it and you get insane units.
Yeah, I'm gonna respectfully disagree because Habitat is absolutely right that he did get all the bunny hops, which was a kind of a slot machine in those days. But it's also just the fact that it's such a long map. Well, it's just
Well,
so
yeah.
high quality like throughout, and there are things that he does that were really ahead of his time. Stuff like because he was also a trick surfer. So he, for example, he ramp strafed the ramps on the first few stages. Um, I don't think anyone else was doing that at that time.
Oh yeah, yeah. Don't get me wrong. Like I was just pointing out the bhop part, but like if you
Yeah,
look at his CPR compared now to like times now, like it's surprisingly pretty close.
yeah. But yeah, I mean, Gergimer definitely a notable guy, and I think an underrated guy. But I don't know if he would have been.
Care
So
Gamer?
so let's pick a year. Let's pick a year, and then we can answer the question. Right, the question you were asking was if we could pick 3 surfers at a certain point in time to be like the 3 main guys, who would it be? Right?
Yeah, I'm caught up on Care Gamer or Jer Gamer, bro. Hold on a second. Okay,
Or I
first of
call him
all,
Gergimer.
hold on. Okay, GIF or GIF?
Jiff.
Yes.
I'm. Okay, just go. We'll just move on. I really want to know actually about. Oh man, I think I would do 2010, 2011, and 2012. But instead of having to go through all those, what do you think is the most important year from those 3? Those are huge, and that's where you guys have this critical perception that we lack. There's no forums going back to that point. There's no screenshots. Is there a most important year from those 3 you think that we should focus on? By like
Well,
2013
can
and
can I just like
yeah.
quickly let's just like quickly lay out what happened. So we didn't go that deeply into it, but pre 9/11 ish, 9/11,
9/11. What the fuck does that have to do with it,
2011.
bro? What are you talking about?
Yeah, pre 9/11 surfing was way different, right?
What are you talking
And then
about?
the towers fell
You used to
and
be able to
everything changed.
smoke while you're surfing, and oh man.
Oh my
But yeah,
guys, I
pre
live in New York.
20
What the fuck, man? Come on, man. Just go.
pre 2009. That's what I meant to say.
Okay.
Um, surfing was way different, right? And we have touched on it. It was these servers where it was combat surf and skill maps mixed together, and the point of the skill maps was whoever gets to the end first or completes the bonus, like everyone gets teleported to jail, and then you get a weapon, and then you get to shoot at everyone, and they can't shoot at you.
Right.
And if no one finishes, everyone gets teleported to jail, and then you just fight it out, and the round restarts.
Yeah, and you also get a gun based on how far you went. So
Yeah, on
have
some
you
maps, yeah.
have you ever seen the NY Advance map where on the right side of this thing there's just a random pole that's just sitting there that you probably have no idea what the point of it was, but back then it would slowly drop and it would reset each time somebody beat the furthest level. So if somebody got stuck at stage 8 and then it finished, like it dropped, he didn't beat stage 8 in time, everybody would get teleported to jail, and the person who's the farthest would get, a gun assigned to that level. So maybe they would get like an M4, and then people who are sitting there spamming RTV on stage 1, like wanting to go to Great River or XIV, they would be sitting there with a knife, and that's how it worked back then.
Yeah.
And
And
that
then
yeah.
like 2009 was like the advent of timer surf with EGI, and then EGI lasted maybe a little under a year, until I think the start of 2010, and then EGI died, and then KSF came around, and that's kind of how it happened, right? So we went through these like stages of. In 2008, the goal of surf was the best surfer in the world. Rather, would be the guy who could most consistently one-shot hard maps.
Mm.
Then in 2009, it kind of shifted to be the best surfer in the world was, and we're talking skill surf here, right? This isn't combat, because combat was different, and also
Right.
trick was also different. But then it shifted to be the fastest guy, right? But still, I mean, in early days of EGI, a lot of the records weren't even no fails. So it was still a big element was still just being consistent in no failing maps. And then 2010, right, KSF, it slowly started becoming more and more who's the most optimized, who can be like the fastest. So that's why when you say like 2008 to 2012, it's like there's so many different like eras there that you can't really pick one.
And okay, there's two beautiful little kernels to pull out here. The first is that classic surf experience. You beat the map, you get to kill everybody in the lobby. Suddenly you're the top killer, or top frag. There's a big dopamine hit associated with that, but not only that, it's communal. Everybody gets killed by you, and suddenly everybody sees next to their name, Habitat killed me. That is a big thing that, on the flip side, when you look at modern surf, everybody's in a private server.
Yeah.
KSF is dead
Yep.
silent. I have not voice enabled one in 6 years, at least, perma silent. If we didn't expect surf to die, when we had stripped out every single communal aspect from it and relied on Twitch, no way. No way, no way, no way. Okay, the second thing, fuck. Then you got into I think that here's who was the fastest and who was optimized is the people that we focused on. For the vast majority of surfers, we never talk about this. The reason why they played was to increase their rank, to go rookie, beginner, casual, experience, be expert, be veteran. That was my motivation for the entire time I was playing surf. Only now am I starting to think about Group 1's top 10s, and I'm never going to be thinking about world records. Let's just be honest, right? That that is a huge thing. Was ranks a thing back then? Can you recall, like in 2010 and on?
Well, I mean, 2010 and on, that was just KSF, so those were systems that were similar to what we have today.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, and on EGI as well, it was right. You beat records, you get points to records, and that makes you rank, like increases your rank,
Right.
and that was kind of the goal. Before that, servers would have stats like how many kills have you gotten in total, and you'd have a KD and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And that was kind of what people went for. So if you managed to like beat a skill map fast, then you could, right. You didn't die, but you get to kill everyone in the server in the jail, so that would pad your KD a lot. And also just you know the feeling that you get from joining a server and beating a map, and everyone being like, wow, this guy's really good, right? Wow, this guy beat NY Advance. I've never seen anyone beat NY Advance, right?
Yeah, like
That kind of thing.
the thing also, it goes from that to like like this is bullshit. Like, can we just get off this map already? Like, this guy just keeps like beating it
Yeah, yeah,
every 2 minutes. Like you don't give them a chance to surf. Like, that was the fun part for me. Was, you know, like
What? Just make
ending.
torturing the people?
Oh, absolutely.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like on Torque was my favorite map for it, just
Oh my
because
god.
like the bonus was on stage one, and you would just it would be over in 15 seconds. So like you would be restarting the round every 15 seconds, and everybody would be sitting there like on voice chat, just you know, flaming each other and shit like that. Like, that was the funnest part.
Yeah, I remember
Wow,
Surf
wow, wow.
NY Platinum was kind of like that as well, where there's the two windows that
Yeah.
slowly close, and
Yep.
if you get into them, you can go through the bonus. And I think I don't remember what you get. You don't like teleport everyone to jail, but you get a weapon. I think maybe a deagle. Like it spawns you back on the map with a deagle, and then you get to shoot everyone.
Re- yeah, that's exact. Yeah, at the end of stage two. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
am
that was a big thing as well.
I'm itching to do this as an event. if you didn't see, do you know who Darth Elmo is by any chance?
No.
Okay, so combat surfer guy, big combat surfer.
I know who he is.
You know who he
He has
is.
some really cool videos. Yeah, he made the Exodus returns videos, which I think is
Oh,
some of the best combat surf videos ever.
and Exidos did a little bit of skill surf, and I believe did hit a world record at some point. I could be wrong. He just he set up for us a combat surf server with all the linears that from like the really old ones though. So like Legends in year 3000. Maybe that's not even that old.
Right?
People hated it.
Yeah, Year 3000 is really old.
None of those had the functionality. Is it when you were doing it, everybody goes to a jail and you kill them all? Were you also able to shoot people while you were on the map, or did everybody have a knife and couldn't kill anybody?
Well, you wouldn't have a weapon. It differed from map to map.
Yeah.
Okay.
Every map would have a system implemented by the mapper, right? And kind of a big thing in mapping back then was being really creative with your systems and like putting secrets on maps and stuff. Also, a lot of maps back then would have like I think you can notice it on maps like Rebel Resistance, for example. They would have like a noob route and a pro route.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
like
yeah.
the noob route was like um, an easier route, but then you get to jail and you get maybe like a Glock or whatever, or a knife. And then if you complete the pro route, then you get like a shotgun or an AWP. That was a thing as well on many maps. Yeah.
But were you worried about people killing you while you were surfing, or was that usually not a concern
On some maps, yeah.
on some maps? That
Like I
sucks.
was just mentioning NY Platinum. If you
All
beat the
right.
bonus on NY Platinum, you get a weapon and you get spawned back in the map, and no one else has a weapon. And because the
Oh,
servers used to be full of like noobs, like not that many people back then were good surfers. They couldn't like complete stage 2 that fast, so they'd just be spawning and spawn all the time. So you could just stand there and shoot them in the head.
so okay. I want to take a little step back here. First of all, apologies for like sort of awkward entrance. I wanted to get you guys in this mood, this headspace. I feel like we're in it. Are there things that we haven't talked about yet you guys desperately want to talk about before I start to go through some of these topics that we have on the document? What you feeling?
There's
There's one or
two.
two things I could mention, but I'll let Habitat go first.
Yeah.
Hit it.
For me, I was just gonna say there's too many. Like, um,
Ooh, okay.
I could sit here forever
Let's go.
on topics. So how about you give us the topic and then
Let's get it. I'm going back to
Yeah,
the
take it from
dock.
there.
Okay.
yeah, that sounds like a good idea. Yeah.
Invention of Skillsurf. We talked about what it looked like when it started. Okay, what was the state of the community? This is a big mystery for us. There are some things like binds that maybe were big back then, where you would bind something that somebody said. I don't know if that started back then. Was there toxicity? Were there other cultural practices? And that was also sort of leading into the intro. What was it like to hop into a server? What did people talk about? Did they talk about maps, or did they talk about the same bullshit they talk about now? Like Jesus, Raptor Jesus, Habitat. There's literally a new Raptor Jesus called Henry Ford. All he does is go on the CSGO servers and talk about why the Jews run everything and to do things to black. It's crazy. It's crazy. Like the same exact shit happen.
Well, I'm probably in the minority here, but I love the toxicity. I love the trash talking. Um, I found that probably the funnest part of surf.
A lot of people do. It's not a mystery why. It's dramatic.
But
It's interesting.
it doesn't exist anymore.
Mm.
Like it's just yeah, it completely doesn't exist. Like um we've had so many surf battles on maps, and there's always trash talk in between it and after, and like if somebody doesn't get your world record, like they're coming back to it the next day, and like it was kind of like the goal back then when you set a record was to make the other person spend more time than you spend on it, for me at least. And um it would take somebody 6 hours to beat a record, and then you'd go on really quick and beat it in one rotation, and then the trash talk begins again.
Yes, for
uh,
example, it would take Habitat 20,000 attempts to beat Pox, and then I would do it in 2,000
exactly.
attempts. Yeah.
Mm.
So that one was actually, I spent so long on that map. um I did it all in one night too. Like I probably spent an unhealthy amount
Whoa.
of hours, and um, I forget who it was, but it was not Sinsa, but it was another Korean guy. I forget his name. Maybe
The
Morning
second
remembers it.
Korean. This is a mystery to me.
But anyways, so it took me forever to finally beat this record, and um, I don't know if it was right after, then Sacred added lasers to it, or Morning beat it right away. But I know after I got the record, within a week, there was lasers on the map, and it was just like, damn, what a waste of time. Because I did it without lasers, and I think once the lasers happen,
Right.
I hide my time instantly.
Because now you have the visual indicator that you didn't have before. And so it was kind of like now everybody can
Exactly.
do the same exact shit that I just did. Oh,
Yeah. And it was also max velocity, and at the time, nobody understood what it was.
really?
Yeah, yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, and they told
Actually,
him it was the
that kind of
first.
it's funny because when you watch Habitat's old records on that map, um, the way that Habitat surfs kind of plays like it kind of works. He's kind of surfing Maxwell's style while not even knowing that he's doing it. Because he's not
Wow.
even bothering to like land smoothly on the ramps because he's because that's not his style.
Subconsciously realizing, hey, there's a new tech here. And then do you know who the first person to really understand Maxwell was? It QR, I believe. That's a hard one for me.
Um, well, I mean that's a whole story. I mean, QR always says that it was him, and people don't believe him. But I know that he's telling the truth because I was there.
Habitat, do we have any disagreements, or does that match up with your understanding?
The only thing I remember from max velocity is two people, and Evil Mr. Muffins and Joe. And they had all the records on those maps.
Right.
I don't know where it came from, so I'm going with Morning's answer. Um, but I know
Yeah, this was years pre Mr. Muffins.
Mr. Muffins was the best max velocity surfer from what I remember.
Yeah, Mr.
Um,
Muffins is kind of another example. He's another like Gamer type example where he was easily one of the best surfers in the world, and I don't think that many people even know about him.
they have no idea who he is. He's a
Yeah,
professional TF2 player.
yeah, yeah. Yeah. Also, he was really young and didn't have that many hours at the
Yeah.
time.
That was the craziest part, that he came on the scene incredibly quickly and got records. Was that the case?
Yes.
Yeah. But like he had a like the thing is he looked good while doing it. Like he made max velocity surf look good at that time. So I think that's why he held it so much, because I don't know. It's just a combination of like he kind of reminds me of Yaman, but in the in max velocity. Like Yaman would have been like the stage guy or the normal linear maps, and then Muffins would be the max velocity linear maps. They kind of look the same in terms of surfing though. Like they were both aesthetically pleasing to watch.
Yeah. I remember I was going for the Utopia record back in the day. Um, this was back when I was still one of the top surfers, and I remember I got the Utopia record, and I thought it was really fast, and then Muffins beat it by such a large amount that I just quit the map. Like I just got angry and quit
Oh my god.
Yeah,
because he was so ridiculously good.
he had all of them. He had Waterworks. He had basically all like the TF2 maps
Yep.
kind of thing. Like he had Waterworks, he had Utopia, he had Dynasty, he had okay, so there's Dynasty. What's that? Primero. He had Primero. I remember Troffle would surf that. Troffle has an insane amount of hours on Primero, and Muffins just took the record from him, and Troffle never got it back.
Whoa. So you might be noticing I'm asking you like a lot of idiosyncratic questions like, is this the case that this happened? Blah, blah, blah. Here's a bird's eye view of what's happening, essentially for surfers who like surf right now and are trying to make content. We have none of this information. We maybe have heard the name Yaman. We've heard the name. You said Joe a few minutes ago. I have no idea
Yeah.
who that is. It's a name I've literally never heard that name. If
He was
people,
part of the trash talk crew.
so you would set a
So
record and you talk shit to the person you took it from.
the thing I remember the most about him would be his time on Illumination bonus 1, and I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
he's still ranked 2. And at the
Whoa.
time, that record was probably the single best bonus record, stage record, world record set at the time. Like that was like the thing everybody went to because it was. I think what made him have it is it was a combination of you had to be really good still, but you also had to perfectly understand max velocity.
Whoa. That's crazy. I've never heard of this before. Do you know who took it from him eventually?
Uh,
Let me check. I can actually check the
I
bot.
don't know. So he's right now he's ranked 6 on it right now. But I bet if you PR infoed him and then you PR'd infoed everybody else above him, they would be like they would be I would say like 5 years difference in terms of times. I know Zaki has it right now
He's
by
huge,
like
huge gamer.
a ridiculous margin. If I were to guess, judging by the names right now I'm looking at, I would say Nim um took it from him. I don't know when though.
Hmm. You got
But yeah,
Tux
he's
on
ranked
there.
6 on it. Yeah, it was like I'm going through the times here, and all I see is the old school people. Like I see Geb here, I see Snail, I see John, I see Mike, Sinky, um,
Skyline, Sony.
System, Skyline, Sony, QR,
Rain.
Kenta, Rain.
Wow. I had an opportunity to talk to Flack the Cat. I talked briefly to 274 through YouTube comments. That is Mr. Gummy Bears, if there's any confusion. Was Mr. Gummy,
So
yeah,
is that Mr. Gamma Bear?
Mr. Gummy Bears, GMM Bears, BEARZ. So maybe a name that's not as apparently like, well, not to
Hey,
get into it. Yeah.
I feel like I remember a person named Gamma Bears. I don't know if it's the same person though.
Hmm.
Um, but if it is, it's another Roldar case in that sense because back then they were competing for vague top tens in groups, and
Hmm.
now they have world records and they're top 10.
Trophicos on here. Nexus. Lull is Lemix's coach. Okay. Pick new, I remember. This is deep. So this goes deep. This bonus is really important. I have never heard of this before. I'll have to take a look into this. And we can zoom in, and this is what I was trying to do before. We can zoom into any point in surf history, and there's like a treasure trove of information about how the game developed and how beautiful it is. And it depends on how into it you are. But we don't have that information. It has never been covered on YouTube, in documentaries. I know Morning you were interviewed by the guy who did Falling with Style. Habitat, were you also interviewed for that?
I've never been interviewed.
You've never been. Congratulations for your first interview. It didn't. I don't know. It was like 2.5 hours long, and it couldn't even scratch the surface. There's just so much cool information here. I also want to zoom
Yeah.
back in. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. When you keep talking about like back in your day and back in this and that era, but it's like it's you're right. I mean, there's a lot of stuff to cover there. So whenever you say something like, so who was someone noteworthy back in your day, then
Right.
I mean that's like 50 people, right?
It
Uh,
honestly is 50 people.
yeah.
Like,
So like as an
Wow.
example, when you say Yaman, right?
Hmm.
That's crazy, right? Because yeah, maybe people don't really know who Yaman is nowadays, but I mean, he was the best surfer in the world in like 2000, I think late 2012. He was ranked 1 in KSF, had the most records. Like he was the best, I would say, for not that long of a period, but yeah. Um, I think he was like the best right after Sinsa. So maybe Hab took rank 1 away from Sinsa and then Yaman was the next rank 1. Am I wrong on that, Habitat?
So when we talk about best surfers in the world, I like to clarify that um, I don't think it was never whoever was rank 1.
Mm.
Like we can all agree on that, right?
Yes.
Okay. Like I was rank 1 for a long time, and I never considered myself the best surfer in the world. There was always people that were much better than me that just simply didn't go for records. Yaman would only go for, linear maps. Um, but but yeah, definitely I think he would. It was like it was definitely a short period of time. Like it had to have been
Yeah,
half
yeah.
a year.
Maybe even less.
It was around the time when like Overgrowth 2 came out
Mm.
because I remember a huge bonus record battle between Morning and Yaman on that bonus 2 on Overgrowth 2. I think I think they both have like a lot of completions. I just remember that vaguely with Yaman and battling. Um,
Wow.
yeah, I don't really I don't really have a comment on that part of best surfer. I think we could name 5 to 10 people that would be in the conversation at that point too. Everybody was kind of the best at their own specialty in surf. Like there was the people who were, who like Yaman could never do a max velocity map, but he was still known as the best surfer. But someone like Muffins would wipe the floor with him on a max velocity map.
Right.
So everybody had their own kind of specialty or style that they specialized in. And then there was the people who were just generally good at everything, but not the best in that specialty. If that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely, it does. And so basically, the answer is bad question, try again. And then maybe I have a
No,
way to pivot us away, but still stay in this vein. I'm going to ask each of you, what is the best moment that you can remember from your whole careers of surf? It doesn't have to be your moment. It could be the moment you watched your best friend hit this world record when they were battling with somebody. Can you remember an amazing moment from your time at surf?
this is super easy for me.
Easy clap. Let's go.
This is the easiest thing ever, and and there's only one right answer to this, and it's Scandy failing Omnific Tail Whale on the wall stage.
That's
Like
great.
there was literally like 40 people in spectate watching it, and like it's such a Scandy thing to do too, is to just fail that. um, but yeah, I mean that was the most memorable moment I can remember. Um, but then again, there's um there's other ones too, right? That's just the first one that came into my head. So like
Yeah.
I don't know what like I remember like for me personally, the most fun I ever had was when me, Morning, and Demon battled on Surf Network 2008
Mm.
because it was like 3 rotations of the three of us trying to beat like each other's world records, and it was nothing but trash talk throughout the entire time. Um, like there's a video of it. There's a video on Therapist's YouTube channel of me getting the record, and at that point, I won that battle of that 3 rotation, and you can see when I get it that Morning types at the end that um something like that's bullshit. Like we should stay. He doesn't deserve it, kind of thing, right?
Wow.
Like you
Yeah.
can see
That
a
sounds like
small
me.
you can see a small you can see a small glimpse of the trash talk that occurred during like you see it at the end of the record because they showed like the chat when somebody got a record, and you can see Morning typing that. But what you don't see is that was like every 5 minutes, you know.
At this
Yeah.
point, guys, it's like I don't mean to cut you off, Morning. It's we don't even play the same map anymore. People like I. It's really rare for me to see people like just maybe the other day I saw it like 6 or 7 people all. It was like Otter and a couple other people. We mostly just stay on private servers by ourselves and play. There's no sense of direct competition with people in the same space, and because of private servers, most likely.
No,
So
I
Yeah,
think
that is quite sad. I mean, it used to be like sitting on the KSF used to be like constantly talking. People would be talking on the microphone. You would be, as Habitat is saying, you'd be constantly just typing in chat, shit talking basically, and just and not just shit talking, but also just talking to each other and like cracking jokes. And that I mean that is like a big loss. I mean if that's completely been lost.
it's completely lost. Like, um, I came back to. I mean, I don't really surf now. I just try to get some completions here and there. But there is nothing remotely similar to what it was back then. Like, I try to start it because that's just the instinct in me, because that's what drew me to surfing, and it just doesn't exist anymore.
it, have you ever tried like CSGO servers? I mean, it's just a wrong crowd though, dude. It's like 14
No,
to
I,
17 year
I've
olds.
I've never surfed in CS:GO. I mean, I've surfed, but I've never, you know, spent the actual time.
So here's the thing. It's weird. There's no shit talking, but when people do talk shit, they go nuclear and they like accuse owners of servers of being pedophiles and shit, and they like dox each other and
Yeah,
we've been getting
That's
DDoSed like a bunch of fucking like in 2022 CS:GO surfers are getting DDoSed by some random person. It's ridiculous.
so yeah, like I don't mean like when I talk shit talk, that's not what I mean. Like that was never. We would just like shit talk constantly. It was kind of separated by regions. Maybe I kind of feel like like the North America, the Europe, and the
I
Australians.
see. Okay.
So like there would be rain and nim, and then giblets came, and then you have the Europeans, the Chromalia, Green Void, Morning, and then you'd have the Americans, me, Troffle, Joe, Mike.
Was it the case back then that somebody could pop on the scene and just have a ton of world records and world record checkpoints within a few months or days?
it depends what you mean by pop on the scene.
I see.
Surfing for the first time ever to beating a bunch of stuff in a few months. I don't think that that was the case. But yeah, I guess there was a lot more volatility back then. You know, you would have a guy who would have 50 world records, and then 6 months later he would have 0 world records. I don't know if that kind of stuff happens anymore.
No, definitely not.
The big thing there is another thing that made surfing fun back then was finding routes and finding new shortcuts and stuff. Nowadays, it seems like everything is known, and it's just about how to do it the absolute fastest. There is no there is no creativity in that sense where um, you're finding new shortcuts. They've all
Right.
been found
Hmm.
on the
And
on
Yeah,
the on the older maps, not really the newer maps, but like for like I would say like for 80% of the maps, I would say the route is already defined right now.
have you ever heard of Fisher random chess? Does that ring a bell? It was like chess
No,
960. Okay, so basically, do you ever know what a chessboard is, right? Like the pawns on
yeah.
front, got the king queen in the middle, you got the castles on the side. The castles like they move back and forth, they're really powerful. So Fisher was this brilliant American chess player who probably was geeked. He was on drugs, probably became schizophrenic and never played chess again. But before he quit chess forever when he was the world champion. He created this thing called Fisher Random Chess, where you mess up all the pieces in their positions. And there are 960 different maps, funnily enough, that can be the chess game. Surf, for a lot of people, feels like we're playing classical surf. You have the ramps, you go from ramp to ramp, you try to max your units out. If it's Maxville, you don't go below the line, and then you do it. Unit surf is that quintessentially because unit surf is the same thing over and over again. Maybe the thing that will break out surf into a new era is a new type of map. And I was talking to Spy Complex. If you watch the Spy Complex interview, impossible to do. Create something truly new in a game mode that's very old. I think of maps like Blackheart. Have you seen Blackheart before? That's a good place to start. Long falling map.
Yes, I have seen it, and it's not added to KSF. It's a
No.
bonus.
Yeah.
which is something that I think is kind of a farce. Like it's horrible
Oh
because it's
no.
yeah, I think it's one of the I think it's one of the better maps, like better surf maps ever made.
Mm.
Like I think it's truly like a great map, and the fact that it isn't added as a true map is just ridiculous to me.
The reasoning around it though was that you're gonna have to force people to play it if you wanted to make it a map.
No, I mean,
You're not forcing anybody to play
yeah,
something.
No,
I
but for
mean,
100 PC and all that, I guess only
Well,
after did we find out it was.
if somebody wants 100 PC,
You got to figure it
then they're
out.
gonna they're gonna
that's like
figure it out.
such a beta male
Yeah. Well.
mentality. Like it's
Oh.
that's such a pussy mentality. Like, oh, if you add this map, then I can't get 100 PC. Like, yeah, okay, that's. I
I'm
mean, you're
fuming.
bad then.
I'm
Just
fuming. I'm about to
just
burst.
just get it better and do it.
Okay, well, what about Anubis? That's the difference. Because then you make a map that nobody can beat for 12 months, and you have to nerf it, and then still nobody can beat it. That's the other side. All love to Sneaky. Best, he's a great mapper. He also made Shade. Where's the balance of like, you got to understand for us, because everything is so much harder, not only do you have to be fucking amazing, Tom Brady level, Cristiano Ronaldo level, you have to then put in a bunch of hours into a map you don't want to play. Now, I'm just saying, I'm not
But
saying,
but
yeah.
if you're a guy whose goal is to get 100% completion, then necessarily you have to be like that. The whole idea there is that you're gonna play every map. Like the idea that then you have to play a map that you don't want to play.
Mm,
That's like
when
that's
you don't want to
ridiculous.
be,
I
yeah.
mean, the whole point of getting 100% completion is you're playing every map. Like there can't be a map that you don't want to play because then you can't get 100% completion. But I
Yeah.
mean, I don't know enough about Anubis to be able to really talk about it. Just when it comes to Blackheart, I just think it's ridiculous because it's not. I mean, it's not at a level of difficulty where it's like impossible or
That's true.
anything. Like you can't really make. I don't feel like you can really make a good argument as to why it's sad for me because I think the map is really good, right? And I think it's kind of a doing a disservice to both the mapper, right, Otter, who made the map, and also just Surf at large, where um you're you're essentially just making it so interesting maps, and you're basically saying this map is too different, this map is too interesting, so I don't want to add it to the server, right?
Right.
That's what I think is sad.
Wow,
But
that's
yeah,
really powerful.
what were you saying about, you were saying something about Blackheart?
The one
Oh
good
right,
thing,
that like a new type of map could maybe like
exactly.
expand the game, or like yeah, open the game up.
And then even bigger than that is that Momentum Mod is going to change the way that surfers, I think, play movement games in a way that we don't understand. Because, so here's two worlds that could happen. One, Momentum Mod is a poof and nothing happens. It's sort of maybe like 1,000 players the first day, and then 500, and then it dies, just like everything else. That's really bad. If it pops off, suddenly surfers, in order to distinguish themselves from other people playing Momentum Mod and get their name up for their brand, will have to surf. They're also probably going to have to play other game modes because Momentum Mod is you're gonna run out of surf maps to play eventually. If you're a really good surfer like Lemix, maybe you're just gonna beat every map that's on Momentum Mod, and then you can't gain any more points. You'll have to go then to bhop and to rocket jump, and that's where we'll start to see maps that incorporate multiple game modes inside of the same map. Maps that surfers happen to be very good at in rocket jump that rocket jumpers did not understand properly. That's where we can have a big explosion of new content. But the harder question is just inside of Surf, how are you going to create a map that changes the game? Like, correct me if I'm wrong, Modern B4 changed Surf significantly when it came out, right? And maybe also Salient B2, these very short unit bonuses. Does that ring a bell?
Yeah, I mean, Modern B4 was kind of their first. Well, it was the first B4. That's where the term B4 comes from,
Right.
right? That was the first B4, and it was kind of the start of this whole trend of trying to make like the hardest possible stage.
Facility,
Was
Fornax, yeah, a sale
yeah,
just came
facility.
out,
Yep,
yeah.
yep,
They're all
exactly.
huge. Oh, 100%. Is there another map like that you can remember from your time period going back to 2012? Here's a good one. 2010 to 2012. Was there a map that came out that blew everybody's minds? And I'm thinking about like Royal Sensei and stuff like that. If you know.
Well, I mean, you're including 2012, then obviously the answer there is going to be Omnific.
And Nightmare bonus.
That skyline right there. Okay.
I think the biggest thing was like the whoa, like this map came out was Exile.
Really?
Yeah,
Why?
yeah.
I don't know. It was just
Really good looking map, really hard.
that guy. I know the mapper's name. He's Russian, but he made the Exocube.
Kiani,
Yeah, he made Exocube, Exile, and Exogenesis,
Exogenesis.
and he disappeared after Exile. And I think he's like one of the better mappers.
He just disappeared, never to be heard from again.
I don't think I've ever heard from him ever after
Yeah, I
Exile.
think he was an architecture student, and that's why his maps are so good looking.
Oh, now he's gone. He would have been such a good person to have around for many years. Oh God.
Yeah, definitely.
If you know
But I think
Exonic was
Exile. Yeah, I think Exile is the shift to. It was a meta setting map in terms of like this is a hard map. Now I'm gonna make another hard map. You know, like I want to make a map that rivals this.
and me in
Yeah, I
morning. Yeah,
am
go.
when you're talking about 2010 to 2012, the only one for me that really pops into mind is Omnific. Um, a big one earlier than that would be Quantum, because Quantum had a timer on it before timer surf really was a thing.
Yep.
That's a kind of a really interesting map. Obviously, there's a lot of innovation way back in the beginning, and I'd say Surf NY Advanced probably kind of the map that,
Paved the way.
well, yeah, kind of, well, it came out after Platinum, for example, and other maps that kind of had the same the like actual skill surf like kind of formula. But I would say NY Advanced definitely also a really important map in surf history, but that's obviously way earlier. Just because it had really kind of cemented the idea of having stages with a theme, stages that got progressively harder, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So you got Faj for the NY maps. You got Sangre for Quantum and Quark maps, and Kawaii. You have those like core
Kawaii?
builders. Yeah,
Wasn't Kawaii Nikki?
yeah, and Sangre made the 2 stages.
Right.
So if you're going into mapping in the early days, I mean, you start with, I think like the 5 core mappers. I mean, you got Buck Nasty, you got Faj, Target Practice, Sangre, and Copy Mark. I think. I mean, am I
Yeah.
missing a name there?
I mean, there was a lot of guys around back
Like
then.
I guess also Scar too. But
Yeah, Scar.
but like they're the ones that made the first skill surf maps. You got your NY maps. You got your Apex, Surf Lore. I think Target Practice was a big part of Surf Lore.
Yeah,
But yeah, like I think those early maps they're kind of built into every map that's kind of made. Like something is taken from those. Whether it be, like a plus left spin, you know, it's coming from the amplitude maps, right? Like what
yeah,
or the last stage of NY Advanced, like those were the first maps that ever used those techniques.
And then suddenly they're
Ramp strafe,
everywhere.
even
Yeah.
ramp strafing, like people associate it with uh since Sinister Evil,
Right. But it's
but
earlier,
but
right?
NY Advanced stage 1 and 2 and has ramp strafing on the first ramps. Nobody would ever do it though because it's not required to beat the stage,
Right.
right?
Ramsey also kind of started in Trick Surf mainly.
True, yeah, it was Skyworld, yeah.
Skyworld. Right.
I've
Wow.
never I've never trick surfed, so
Well, this is all huge. And what it sounds like to me is that you could make a fucking YouTube series that was like a year in surf and talk about all the ways in which maps built off of each other and the top servers at the time who were then navigating those maps. And there's a like a really simple idea I keep as I'm doing this work, I keep remembering. This is the only art form where like the way that the art is has a functional impact on the consumer. Like if you go to like a museum and look at a painting, I fucking hate paintings. I don't really like art like that. I don't go to museums anymore. I used to. But surf maps are pieces of art where if the ramp is fucked up and hard as fuck, it matters. So if you make it beautiful and it's shit, it has an impact. But it's just a huge topic to go back to every year and try to figure that out. Do you know if there is there anywhere on the internet? This is tough. I think that this interview is going to be great for somebody who wants to get into making surf history stuff because there's just so much stuff we've already talked about. Like a forum where I can get information from that still exists. Do you guys know if that would happen to be there?
I've actually spent quite a bit of time over the last few weeks
Looking at
trying to
shit?
find information about the old days,
Let's
but
go.
it's very difficult because it's
Oh,
all down. So you have to be on right the Wayback Machine
right.
uh, and kind of try to see if you can get lucky with old forum threads and just even titles of forum threads. But yeah, the old Solid Surf forums, the archive of that are kind of a gold mine.
I think that's really
Um,
the first and last place you would look at, really. Like it has everything. If it
yeah,
was still up, it would be perfect.
yeah, it's very very sad that it's not still up, and it's quite sad that there are no like complete archivings of all the threads and stuff. Um, but yeah, that would definitely be the place I'd start, and then I would also just try to kind of see if you can find old Game Banana, obviously, also, because it goes back really far,
Yeah.
back to when the site was called FPS Banana, and you can find the original release dates of all the early maps there, or at least a lot of the early maps there.
So I mean, it sounds like it's
But yeah,
almost a situation where I'd have to try to get in contact with this Solid Surf owner and see if they have. Is that even possible for a website to be archived locally on somebody's computer for them to still have it? Oh, after all these years.
I highly doubt that.
So
I think your best bet, barring just going on a treasure hunt in old archive sites, would be to see if you can find people from back then. So see if you can like get an interview with
Right.
one of the early mappers. I mean, that's probably going to be hard
yeah.
because they're all like 40
Oh
years
my
old,
gosh,
right?
it's so long
But
ago.
So in those forums, you would see like the map before it was released. Like you could visually see the construction and building of a map that we still play nowadays.
Whoa, that's actually really cool, like with the images and stuff, right?
Like yeah, like image like screenshots of previews of like stage 4 of this map, non-textured, and then like some textures added to it. You could see it being built from the ground up, and um, that brought hype to a map instead of now where it's just like it's just released, right? Like you could see like the month-long process of the construction of a map then, and like you get excited towards the end, like this map needs to be released now, like we all want to play it, right?
yeah, they also used to have community beta tests. I remember that, especially for the collabs. So the commune maps, for example. So all the commune maps, if you notice that they're called like commune, the first commune is called like beta 11,
Right.
and then you have commune
Commune 2,
again, beta
5,
whatever.
yeah, and then
Yeah,
commune
commune 2.
again.
Those beta, and then a number at the end. That's those are the public, or not the public, but kind of community beta tests that they'd go through. So they'd be like an event people would go through, and then they would find, maybe there's a bug, or there was something that they didn't think was good, and then they would make another version and have another beta test. So that was also fun back then.
Wow. Okay. This was huge, right? This is a huge amount of information that people could get access to. I think the question I really want to ask you guys that itches me is like, well, for my perspective, there's a big market of people who used to play the game who would be incredible, like people to reach out to and have also as viewers who maybe would care. What is the kind of content that you want to see as longtime surfers from way back then? Is it history videos? Just like, did you from like if I had to ask from my channel, what is the kind of content do you like the most?
For me,
I
I
just the interviews, really.
yeah, for me
That
it's
makes
it's
sense.
it's 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 mainly about I kind of like I would kind of like a video that goes in depth more than a video that tries to give an overview.
Right.
If you know what I mean. I'm sure you're kind of at least partially modeling your channel on people like Virtual. I don't know if that's I'm assuming stuff there or not, or
Yeah.
like summoning souls
Somebody
of
saw too.
people like
Yeah.
these. Yeah. So yeah, kind of stuff like that I would be more interested in, and obviously the interviews as well are kind of fun.
I think the first thing I realized is that Virtual and Summoning Salt are like just incredible videographers and speakers. They're just really good at their job. And that shit takes so long. The Omnific video, if you remember that one that I made, that took like at least a month and a half. And I just don't have the
Yeah,
capacity trying to do a bunch of other shit at the same time. But I'm starting to get around to the idea that that's what really people from my channel and my community really, really want. The podcasts are kind of sleeper for most people. I think like maybe like of the 1,700 people who watch one, like 200 or 300 are watching it the whole way through. But it's a way for me to create all this information for people. Now, if you want to figure out what happened in Surf, you don't have to like scrounge through forum posts necessarily. You can get a lot of information from these interviews, which is why it's amazing we're talking to y'all. Have you seen some of the other modern surf creators like Batman the Tasser? Do you have any thoughts on him, for example?
He's a beast. I
Amazing,
love his
right? Oh
videos.
my god.
awesome. I wish you'd open source his tool though. That's the only thing. But yeah, he's great. Amazing channel.
If you
He's
that
like
yeah.
fast forwarded surf to the point where we don't need to find out what the best time is. We don't need to find out if a record's beatable or not, or if a record is GG'd or something. We can just say, oh, let's watch Batman's run of it. Oh, I'm like point 0.2 off of Batman's time. I think my time's pretty good. Kind of thing.
You're right. Like what do they call it? Solving the game. It's called. He essentially created a program that allows him to solve the game in a way that traditional tasks, which are just movement recorded, cannot do. It's
Yeah,
amazing. Ooh, have you seen the Ancient One by any chance? That one might be.
I've seen it.
You've
I
seen his.
haven't.
You have not seen a Habitat. Okay, morning. Can unfiltered, unbiased thoughts. If you gotta hurt him, you gotta hurt him. What do you think?
Unbiased? I don't think
Unbiased.
I can be unbiased.
You can't be unbiased. Are you his like? Are you his dad or something?
No, no, no. I might be biased like slightly against him,
What
just
happened?
because I don't agree with his opinions.
That's fair.
Uh, yeah, I mean, I like his channel. He's funny, and it's cool to see that kind of content in a surf context. Definitely.
You've already
But I
broken
mean,
his heart.
for
It's
example,
over.
the mapper tier list that he did.
Yeah.
I mean, he rated Razer a B. I just see it, that doesn't just it doesn't sit right with me.
Wow.
Because Razer, he's a legend, right? He's in my opinion one of the greatest surf mappers ever.
I
And it
agree
just
with that. He made my
and
favorite. He made my favorite map.
I'm not even sure who that is. Oh no. What do they make? Help me.
Ra-
Help me
He
I
out.
mean
made like Sluice.
yeah,
Sluice.
he made like
Okay.
a
Made
hundred
Sluice.
maps.
He made. Did he make like sexy arts too?
Yes.
Yeah, and retro arts. He made Thembrium.
Let's see. Sluice Final. Let me click on him. Let me click him. I might agree. Sluice Final is huge because that's one of the first very smooth maps. I'm assuming. Or it was Bayer 2.
He
Bayer
he
and Bayer
made
2.
he made Journeys, he made Shoria, Acerbus,
Oh shoot. Azerbus is a
Cordelia.
classic. Oh wow.
But I mean, just I mean, we don't even need to sexy arts, uh Pandemonium. I don't know if we already mentioned that.
That's another one. Yeah.
Pandemonium is
Yeah.
huge. Here, I'm taking a look
But
really
yeah,
quick.
I
I
mean,
finally found it.
and also just the fact that I think that Razer kind of like his specific style, it's very, very accessible. Like his maps are they're quite simple, but they're very, very fun and simple to surf. Like they're very pleasant. while not being boring and uninteresting. And I think he was like the
I
big
understand.
driving force behind that kind of style, where the maps that were a little more old school, like Sangra or Copymark or whatever. They also had were absolutely amazing mappers, but they didn't focus as much on their maps being kind of fun and accessible for everyone,
Right.
and not just like good surfers or whatever.
I mean, that's funny because I think people dislike Shoria and Cordelia because they're incredibly hard. People do not like maps that are hard, especially Shoria, still last stage. So we and I know they
Just
have
just
yeah.
uh, just
Oh yeah,
to
go
just
ahead.
to make sure, I'm not hating on the Ancient One. I mean, he's funny. His videos are good.
Well, one thing we didn't talk about from each of you, most crowning achievements from both of you. It's a hard one. The I guess though it could be a world record or another record where you felt like that was the best one that you ever got in your entire career. This is one of the ones where it's going to be one and then the other. I know that we wanted to avoid that. So I'm going to also look through my notes and see if I can find more open-ended
Most
questions.
crowning achievement was quitting.
How so?
Well, I remember. I mean, we haven't touched on it, but I mean, Habitat and I are very different. We have very, very different mentalities when it comes to surfing. Uh, Habitat was always the guy that he would just farm like low hanging fruit to get rank 1. I don't think that's a mischaracterization. Where I would kind of obsess over getting like a perfect record.
Yeah.
Um, I remember like once or twice being impressed by a Habitat record, but I don't know. I don't think I can remember which maps. I think maybe Surf Bob. Didn't you have like a crazy record on Bob at one point?
I mean, it could have been Network 2008 final because you never did beat me ever.
Shots
Maybe,
fired. Boom.
but it's hard for me. Maybe one of the early gloaming records that I got. So this would be like 2010, maybe early 2011. I remember grinding gloaming a lot and finally getting like a absolutely massive record on gloaming. Maybe that's one of the best records I've ever gotten. I remember maybe the best record I've ever gotten was the Plaguelands record that is on KSF Records.
That map still does not have a good record. That might be one of the only maps of that's over 8 years old that does not have a good record on it.
I can take it. I'm so bad. I got to look for any records. If I get a KSF record upload, it's just going to change my life, okay, boys? But
Oh, the map is simply just impossible to do at all
what?
6 stages. Good.
Oh, fuck. Top play lens. Now you said your crowning achievement was quitting Habitat. Is there a second most impressive achievement that you ever had? Oh wow, Green Void and Calf are the top two, and then Sinky. I'm gonna interject actually. Morty, you mentioned that you wanted to go for the best record you possibly could, and the first person I thought of who also did that was Sinky. Even to this day, will go for all green records and destroy them. Polygon was an amazing one that he hit. Was the same way. And I guess my question would be, was the dominant mindset to hit a crazy world record back then, and now that is not such a thing, not such a big thing? How does that feel to you guys?
Sorry, say that again.
I'm not sure I
Uh,
agree with your characterization of Sinky.
oh, you think he hits a
Yeah,
lot of small minuses sometimes?
he's
No,
a
I think he just when he was dominant, I think he was just so good and so consistent that no one else was even close to being as good as him, and that's
Wow.
why he got like huge records.
Hmm.
But that's not what I meant. Like what I used to do, I used to like
one completion. Like, so I got it right here. So Morning would on Symbiosis. I'm pretty sure he still has one completion, but he went for that map
I
and he
see.
only finished it one time, and that was it. I think he wanted to do the same thing with Sensane on Surf Sensane, and I don't know if he actually got it, but
I think
if
I
he
did.
does, yeah, he has one completion on that map too. Um, but the problem with that, I find, is I
Yeah.
feel when you're surfing a map while you're doing it, you find better ways of doing it each kind of completion. So I think that's where you get passed up in times in that
Well,
sense.
I did that a few times, but that wasn't usually what I did. I would just, I mean, I have a ton of completions on gloaming, for example, and I would just, the thing that I would do is I would like reset right before the end if I wasn't happy with the run. So
Right.
it's not completing the map, it's just not getting the
True,
time.
yeah, that's true,
Yeah.
yeah. And I'm the complete opposite. I complete every single attempt I do basically. If I make it to the end, I'm completing it no matter what.